With a new slave girl added to his harem, Kiaru is left with an extra rice cake for his sausage and a companion for the fights to come. Kiaru takes the slave home, and after taking off her collar, Flare asks him if it is safe for him to do that, and he tells her that he is sure that the slave would listen to him even if he takes it off. He also proceeds to heal the slave, and he is able to see that her village was attacked by the Imperial army, who killed some of her people and also captured her in order to sell her into slavery. He explains her ordeal to Flare and also tells her that the slave is unable to become stronger than she already is. Just then, Flare begins to feel sorry for the slave, but Kiaru adds that the slave's name is Setsuna. Kiaru also tells Flare that Setsuna wants revenge on the army that took her away from her people. Then he adds that it is not a bad idea to make a princess kill her people, and when Flare asks him what he said, he tells her not to worry about it. Kiaru takes one of his potions, and he drinks it to give it to Setsuna through her mouth.
Wait a minute!
Seeing this, Flare becomes uncomfortable as she is not willing to share her master with anyone, but later that day, Flare and Kiaru goes out to sell another box of antidote to Goldman, and after collecting the money, Kiaru tells Flare on their way home that he is surprised as Goldman has not sent a mob to attack him for the recipe, and Flare also shows her excitement of them making more money and helping people in the process. On getting home, they notice that Setsuna has not woken up. Then, Kiaru tells her that she would wake up soon as she has recovered fully and gained her strength back. He takes the potion and tries to feed Setsuna as usual. Then Flare looks away, but as Kiaru gives Setsuna the antidote, she wakes up and slaps Kiaru hard. Setsuna yells at Kiaru that he is trying to take advantage of her, but Flare immediately yells at her that she has offended the person who helped her, and he was only trying to give her a potion. Flare begins to cry as she tells Setsuna that Kiaru is her master, and he had bought her and healed her. Then Setsuna realizes what she has done. Then she begins to apologize to Kiaru for reacting to him in such a manner. Kiaru begins to wonder why Flare has become so soft in another dimension. Therefore, he introduces himself to Setsuna, and he immediately instructs Flare to go and get them food since he wants to eat in his room. Flare becomes excited, and she tells them that she would take her time as she wants to get an extravagant food for them so as to celebrate Setsuna's recovery. After Flare has gone, Setsuna shows her appreciation to Kiaru and tells him that she has to leave. However, as she tries to attack Kiaru, he captures her and pins her down with her rice cakes. Then he proceeds to ask her why she thought he took off her slave collar, and she explains that he knows that he is much stronger than her, but she asks him who he is, and he tells her that he is an alchemist. He tells her all he knows about her clan and her weakness. Then he proposes to her that he would make her stronger if she is willing to do as he says, but he also adds that the only condition he has is for her to tell him her real name, which is engraved on her soul. Setsuna agrees, and Kiaru tells her that in order to make her stronger, he would have to use his abilities. She immediately tells him that she would do it. Then he begins to remove his clothes, and they both begin to work out. A few minutes later, Setsuna begins to tell Kiaru how she wants him to continue to make her stronger, and he tells her he would get her the revenge she desires. A few days later, Kiaru and the girls learn that the Imperial army are going to attack the rest of the Wolf clan, and they all go to a high mountain waiting for the army to strike the village. But as Setsuna sees the soldiers, she becomes angry, and as she tries to attack the soldiers, Kiaru holds her down and tells her that she should be calm as he would go and help her to clear the air before she attacks. The soldiers take out some of the villagers and begin to beat them. Then Kiaru wears a mask and goes into the village, announcing himself as the hero of the sword. But when the soldiers try to attack him, he begins to use Kura's sword abilities and kills most of them. While in the fight, he signals Flare, and she also uses her magic to take down some of the soldiers, and this makes Kiaru happy as the princess is taking down her beloved soldiers. Soon, he calls on Setsuna, who begins to take out the soldiers as well along with her clan members. Kiaru admires the new Flare for not having the same attitude she had before her memory was erased. After the battle, Flare sleeps in the tent dreaming and making happy noises as she calls on Kiaru's name, but Kiaru and Setsuna goes to the source of the illness of the people of Lanarita. Then he asks Setsuna if she wants the town to be cured or not, and she pleads with him to cure the land. After healing the water, the two begin to work out as Kiaru places Setsuna against a tree, and while at it, they both discuss how Setsuna felt when she was having her revenge. While talking, Setsuna makes happy noises, and she tells Kiaru that she wants to be stronger, so she wants to have more workouts with him. After, Setsuna tells Kiaru her real name, and she gives her life to him as his humble servant. But after the workout, Setsuna sleeps and Kiaru decides to protect her with his life, and he also proceeds to recount his plans of having his revenge and healing the world. Meanwhile, at the Imperial capital, the king meets Leonard, whose face was changed by Kiaru, and he tells Leonard, who now has Kiaru's former face, that he would give him a chance to redeem himself because of the trust Flare had in him. The king orders Leonard to capture Kiaru, and he becomes excited that he would be able to have his revenge on Kiaru for taking his body and changing his face. Meanwhile, in the palace at the Imperial capital, Kureha walks in the compound and she overhears two guards talking about the incident that took place in Lenrita, how the said hero of the sword used her family's technique in sword wielding. Setsuna and Flare begin to play in the river, and they both take their bath as well. There, Kiaru watches them as they play in the water. He admires the two girls and also admires Setsuna's survival skills, as she is able to catch fishes for them to eat. He sees as Setsuna bends to catch the fishes, and he immediately takes off his clothes to join them, and asks her if she likes it that way. Being the sucker for sausages that she is, she states that she does not want him to stop, as she only prefers it when they are both alone. Kiaru persuades her that it is okay the way they are. Then he immediately calls Flare to join them, and the three of them begin to work out in the water. Later, the three set out, and while they walk through the city, Setsuna tells Kiaru that she does not want to be in those places, as it reminded her of how she was taken captive as a slave. Kiaru assures her that she would be fine as long as he is with her, and that would also be their last day in the city, as they have helped them to heal the source of their illness. As they walk past a man, he asks Kiaru if he is willing to sell Setsuna to him, but Kiaru tells him politely that she is not for sale, but the man tries to attack Kiaru for trying to be adamant, and Setsuna immediately pounces on the man. At that moment, Kiaru realizes that the man is one of the soldiers that have fled from the battle against the Wolf Clan. He tells the man that his reward is death, and he immediately instructs Setsuna to kill him. On getting to where they are supposed to meet Goldman, he asks them why they came to him late, and Kiaru replies that they had a minor issue on their way. Goldman immediately proposes a deal to Kiaru that he should sell the recipe to him, as he has other big merchants who are willing to pay a huge amount of money for the recipe.
Oh my god! Wow!
Kiaru refuses, and Goldman immediately calls some goons, and as they arrive, Kiaru tells Goldman that he is not willing to cause trouble and tells him he would give him the recipe. Kiaru gives him the recipe and they collect their money. On the way, Flare asks him why he gave out the recipe for the antidote, and he reveals that even with the recipe, they would never be able to make the antidote, as he used some antibodies that he generated in his body to make the antidote. Kiaru adds that Goldman has lost money because he gave the wrong antidote to him. But while they continue to walk, Kiaru suddenly senses danger and wields his sword, only to realize that he is being attacked by Kureha. Kureha accuses Kiaru of killing Flare and also brainwashing two girls in order for them to believe that he is a good hero. Kiaru tells her that she is not supposed to be his enemy, as she had promised him, but she tells him that she does not know who he is. Flare tries to use her magic to fight with Kureha, but she is defeated by the sword's master. Kiaru agrees to fight with Kureha, but he tells Setsuna and Flare to watch and learn from the fight they are about to witness. The two begin to fight, and after a while, Kiaru uses a technique and tries to make Kureha inhale an aphrodisiac, but as she sniffs it, she is able to force herself to restrain it by making a wound around her thigh by cutting it out. Kiaru becomes impressed and continues to fight with her. A few minutes later, Kiaru uses a special technique and cuts Kureha's arm off by showing her the pain of the Wolf Clan villagers and how they have suffered in the hands of the Imperial army. Kureha loses her consciousness and they take her to their inn. When they get home, Kiaru heals Kureha, and Setsuna tells him how she admires the way he fought with Kureha, which motivates him to tell her that she can be stronger than him, and also tells Flare that she would need to learn some combat skills from Setsuna. After their discussion, Kiaru asks Flare if she can put up a little show for him. But later, Kureha wakes up, and she becomes hysterical as she tells Kiaru that she does not believe everything he showed her. But Kiaru changes his face to his real face, and Kureha begins to ask him why he had killed Princess Flare, which he tells her that he did not kill Flare. Suddenly, Flare walks in dressed as her former self, and she explains to Kureha that Kiaru had helped her to escape when Leonard was trying to kill her. Flare explains to her what Kiaru had told her to say, and at the moment, Kiaru begins to feel excited as he tells himself that Flare had gotten the role perfectly, not because of her giant cannons, but because she is still the same Princess Flare. Flare leaves and Korea begins to apologize to Kiaru for trying to kill him. Then she begins to feel uncomfortable as she tells him that she needs to make amends. She kisses Kiaru, and he immediately grabs her, but unknown to her, Kiaru had added an aphrodisiac on her. When he healed her, Kiaru and Korea begin to work out, and she begins to make happy noises, but they do not know that Setsuna and Flare are at the entrance hearing what is going on in the room. On the other hand, Leonard has embarked on a journey to get his revenge on Kiaru, and he begins to laugh maniacally as he thinks of what he would do when he gets to his destination. The following morning, Korea is unable to stay away from Kiaru, and this makes Setsuna and Flare unhappy. Kiaru tells Korea that she should eat, as it is uncomfortable for him to eat his meal. They all suddenly hear a voice calling on Kiaru, and as they listen they peep to see that it is the guards from the Imperial capital, and they announce to him that they have taken the people in his village as hostages, and for them to release the people, he has to come out of hiding. The guards tells the people in Leonard that they should report back to the capital once they see Kiaru, but Kiaru becomes sad as he sees the people from his town. But he immediately instructs Korea to help him get any information she can get from his people. But before she leaves, he gives her a deep kiss on her lips, and this makes Setsuna and Flare shocked that Korea has joined them. Meanwhile, a guard takes the news back to Leonard that they are unable to find Kiaru. But Leonard gets angry as he tells that he is sure Kiaru is in Leonard, as he keeps getting some signs in his body. He also adds that he is getting impatient as he cannot stand to see Kiaru's face every time he looks in the mirror. Later that day, Korea tells Kiaru that his village has been taken as offenders because they are accused of having heretical beliefs. Kiaru tells them he knows it is Leonard's doing, and that makes him very sad and angry at the same time. Kiaru leaves for a walk, but when the girls ask him where he is going to, he tells them that he wants to go to Leonard, who wants to see him. Then he changes his face to the face of one of the guards in the Imperial army before going out. On getting to town, he sees the members of his town, and when he is unable to see Anna, he begins to wonder if she is safe, but after checking for a while, he sees a guard and takes him to a corner to act like Murda, a member of the army. He tells the guard that he would deliver a message to Leonard on Kiaru's whereabouts. Kiaru also asks the guards about his people, and the guard tells him that Anna was violated by Leonard in front of the whole village after realizing that she had taken care of Kiaru when he was growing up. Kiaru becomes sad, and he begins to think of how Anna has been the only person who cared about him, but he pulls himself together and goes to see Leonard. On getting there, Leonard is unable to recognize him, but he suddenly changes his face, which shocks Leonard, and before he could draw his sword, he becomes weak and falls. Kiaru insults Leonard for being stupid as he knew he could change appearances. He also adds that he was burning a neurotoxin incense, and that is what has made him weak. Kiaru changes Leonard's face again, and he is able to see how Leonard violated Anna in front of the whole village and how she screamed for help thinking he was the one. Kiaru turned Leonard into a female, and when he wakes up, he tells him that he would make him suffer what he made Anna go through. When Leonard realizes that Kiaru is hurt, he begins to laugh at him, telling him how he enjoyed his plot with Anna.
Oh my god! Wow!
Hearing this, Kiaru shows Leonard the huge monsters that are going to work out with him. He informs Leonard that he does cruel things to people because he does not understand the pain they go through. As Leonard sees the monsters, he becomes scared, and he begins to beg Kiaru for mercy, but Kiaru ignores him and leaves him to be devoured by the monsters. Kiaru immediately runs to Leonard's chambers, and when he sees Anna from afar, she smiles at him, and he begins to run towards her, but by the time he gets closer to her, she suddenly dies. Heartbroken, Kiaru begins to cry as he tries to use his healing magic to revive her. However, he goes back home and Setsuna and Flare tells him that they can make his body warm so that he would not feel sad, which he agrees to. Kiaru begins to work out with the two ladies at the same time, but while plotting with them, he begins to cry, and when the girls ask him why, he tells them that he does not know if he would be able to cry as he had thought he was out of tears. On the other hand, Princess Norn returns from her studies abroad, and when she gets the news about Kiaru and Flare, she begins to laugh as she plays with her plot slave by kicking him while she is enjoying the way he is barking for her. Norn laments on how stupid Leonard is as she had given him an idea, but he misused it then. After thinking about what to do with the situation at hand, Norn decides that she would invite Blade to fish out Kaoru, even though she does not like him. The following morning, Kare gives a report to Kaoru that a date has been chosen for the execution of his people, and the execution would take place in the Colosseum, which only has 2 doors and a strong magic barrier. Kaoru tells the ladies his plan to go and rescue his people, but when Kareta tries to talk him out of it, he tells her that it is what they must do to heal the world. But before leaving, Kareta announces to Kaoru that Norn has returned, and she thinks Norn is a sweet person. Flare becomes chilly on hearing the name without knowing why, but Kaoru recounts how Norn had treated him in his previous life, because she knew he was lucid. Norn made sure Kaoru served her like he did with her elder sister Flare, but Kaoru decides that Norn is not his enemy, and if she is the one behind the strategy to capture his people, he would not spare her. On the day of the execution, the people were tied to poles, and the commander reads out their offenses, but he announces for the last time that Kaoru should come out of hiding if he does not want to see his people die. After waiting for some minutes, Kaoru stands up and changes to his real face, and he looks at the villagers, who also become surprised, as they look at him like a tall and handsome demigod.